Okey, baik. Niaga Awani, untuk kali ini kami bersiaran dari World Economic Forum, WEF China di talian China, di mana kalau kita bercakap berkenaan dengan WEF ini, banyak perkara yang menjadi fokus, terutamanya kalau kita saling bercakap soal pendanaan kepada syarikat startup. Kerana startup ini adalah industri dan juga memerlukan sokongan yang boleh dikatakan luar biasa, kerana mereka ini dari peringkat seed, pre-seed, seed, series A, B dan juga sehinggalah ke IPO memerlukan sokongan yang menyeluruh. Ekosistemnya itu perlu tepat, bukan sahaja dari segi dana tetapi dari segi latihan dan pelbagai lagi. Jadi untuk waktu ini saya nak menemubual seorang individu yang penting di dalam forum ini. I would like to welcome Carlo Chandelantar, partner, head of ESG and Circular Economy at Gobi Partners. Hi, Carlo. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, Carlo. First of all, and for your information, Carlo is the head of ESG and Circular Economy at the Gobi Partners, a Pan-Asian venture capital firm with $1.6 billion asset under management. And Carlo leads investment and innovative companies that champion sustainability. And Carlo also is a founding partner of Gobi Core Philippine Fund, which invests in the next generation of the Philippines' most promising startups. Okay, first of all, to kickstart our conversation, maybe Carlo, you can tell us more about yourself, your journey to becoming at the Gobi Partners, and what motivated you to focus on sustainability and circular economy, Gobi.
Awesome. So I grew up in a family of manufacturers. I thought work and business was built around people, planet, and profit. However, it was just a two-piece, people and profit. So based on that, as I grew older, I read a couple of books on social impact. I started in the space on the non-profit space, but knew business is a tool for good. Now with this, over time, I actually went to Davos 2017. I figured that there's so much more to be done in the world, and what we do collectively can create lasting impact, most especially in ASEAN and where I come from, the Philippines. So now I'm here and I'm part of Gobi Partners since 2017, and basically I've been a partner for the Philippine Fund and regionally head of ESG and circular economy.
Carlo, maybe you can tell us more about Gobi Partners. How does Gobi Partners integrate ESG principles into its investment strategy, and also what impact has this had on your portfolio companies?
Yeah, so I think we created this policy, an ESG policy, last 2018. We've been working on implementing it over time. It's definitely a journey. It's a new practice within the private markets. We realized that in order for our startups that we invest in to go public, they need to be ESG compliant. So we start as early as yesterday. So going through the process, it's been great. We're still starting. We are leading, and hopefully more. We invite all the GPs in the market to actually practice ESG. But really, at the end of the day, ESG is responsible and sustainable investing. Can we find founders that understand environmental, social, and governance? Can we figure out how this could lead towards performance? We're figuring it out, but so far so good. All roads lead to positive impact, societal good, and most of all, creating economic effects, especially in Asia, where for us, Gobi, it's all about innovation without boundaries.
Okay, Carlo, let's walk around here and also take a look at the final day of WEF here.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us more as a founding partner of the Gobi Core Philippine Fund. What are some of the most promising startups that you've invested in, and also and what makes them stand out? Yeah.
Awesome. I think so far in our space, we really started last 2017. We started deploying capital as early as 2019. We've invested in about 10 startups already. One of our startups, Cloud Eats, is actually a technology pioneer under the World Economic Forum. So that's been great. But of course, we see that the Philippines can learn from all the ASEAN countries. I traveled all around ASEAN last year to really understand the ecosystems and how we can use the best practices in different parts of uh, of ASEAN and even the world to figure out how can the Philippines really accelerate, this tech adoption. And so far, we're closing the loop, creating this flywheel for a robust ecosystem. I was here with the Philippine delegation, which was Secretary Ivan Uy from the DICT, and really just conversations about upskilling. Can we figure out the next leapfrog? We talk about AI, but for the Philippines, services is important. But for our startups, we see it as the Philippines is just the beginning. We want them to be regional champions.
When you're talking about regional champions, I would like to bring our discussion into more macro level, into Southeast Asia level. Maybe you can share with us maybe what kind of challenges do startups in Southeast Asia face when it comes to adopting circular economy practices, and how can they overcome these obstacles? Yeah.
I think inherently in tech, innovation really creates this lesser barrier of becoming a circular economy. But there are three principles, right? Designing out waste, pollution, keeping products and materials in use, regenerating natural system. A lot of this space can be done, but for us in the pillars that we've identified, plastic, textile, food waste, e-waste have been identified to be the fastest growing industries in this space. And we've got some startups that really come from this space, and we're excited to what they could become.
One more thing that I think most important is to learn how Gobi Partner supports its portfolio. Maybe you would like to share example and also how Gobi Partner support its portfolio companies in implementing sustainable and also circular economy practices.
Right. So the beauty of Gobi is we have over 15 locations where we invest in early stage to growth stage. And that means that we see Asia as one region, yet with so much diversity and economic opportunities, right? So when we look at this, we say we are running out of resources globally. When we run out of resources, how do we continue this growth, this sustainable growth for economic prosperity? Circular economy provides that opportunity. I think this space is fairly interesting to us because ASEAN, or even just Asia in general, is the manufacturing hub of the world. We need to design circular principles, pre-design everything on the get-go because it will influence what the global market really demands. So supply starts, and we see this as a growing opportunity.
Okay. Another thing that I think is very important to talk about is about venture capital, and also how do you see role of venture capital evolving in promoting sustainability and circular economy in the region especially?
So venture capital now, it's going through a change, right? Everything was fast growth. It still is, especially in Asia, where we see a lot of economies that are just hyper accelerating in this space. Where we see venture capital comes in, it pretty helps create opportunities for new founders, tackling challenges in our world, but also the reward that it provides, right? Of course, there's going to be a lot of risk that needs to be done, that will happen, but the rewards is pretty huge if done right. Now, our role as venture capitalists is to be that bridge between founders and the market. We provide this approach of value creation, ESG-centric approach of identifying value, and also risk mitigation. And so far, so good. I think now, because we have multiple teams everywhere, we always and actively do peer reviews and peer learning in order to understand Asia as a whole and as one firm.
Okay. And of course, when we said about venture capitals, one more things that I think need to be discussed and highlights is about key trends.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some key trends in the Southeast Asia startup ecosystem that maybe excite you, and also particularly in the context of ESG and circular economy?
What excites me, I'm from the Philippines, I handle that fund. There's definitely more fundamentally driven companies. So whether we see a lot more, especially on small cap PEs. However, we do see that this notion of free money is being challenged at the moment. So we look for startups that are fundamentally sound, They're building everything from revenue generation towards profit. Growth is very important, but in order to do that, we need to create this line of process in order to build that off. On the ESG circular economy side, our role as a VC is to help them go through the process. So now, ever since our policy 2018, we sign off any deals across our offices in order to make sure that they're not part of the exclusion list. Now, I think over time now, our goal is to create this new movement that hopefully, being ESG centric as a company, whether you're a startup or not, it's embedded of building businesses and organizations. So hopefully I become obsolete as a head of ESG, and ESG is just part of how we do business.
Okay. As venture capital VC, of course, you need to, in terms of to measure the success, is very important. Maybe you can share how do you measure the success and impact of your investment in terms of ESG and circular economy outcomes.
So we're going through the journey where it's still in progress, and we have some good signs at the very beginning, but of course it takes years. We started with surveys, of course, but now we've transitioned toward doing a pilot on this ESG software or analytics tool to really understand how our startups are growing every year, and that's what we ask from them. And over time, we want it to be a process of understanding. Hopefully, it becomes part of performance. It's getting there, but any new practice is a long learning curve, and our goal here is to make it part of our culture and our practice. Hopefully, everyone else, you're invited to join us.
Okay. Maybe some, entrepreneurs, even startups are looking in terms of advice. What kind of advice from VCs to entrepreneurs especially in the context of Southeast Asia, who are looking to build sustainable and also circular economy focused startups? Maybe your advice to them.
So I think there's the circular economy space. It's really a divergence of both social enterprises, environmental practices, and also building businesses, right? So when you build all these practices all together, there's just a lot to begin with. But at the end of the day, fundamentally, you are a founder. You're building an organization. Think long term. Whatever you build, should it be short term? Because hopefully, we reach our targets by 2030, and that's what we're really fighting for here, right? So I think this space, look for peers. It's as far as the past decade has been, ASEAN has been more active on being a founder-friendly ecosystem. So it's easy to find these startups, ecosystems, and learn from them. There's majority of the events are free. Talk to VCs. There's so many good professionals in this space that are willing to give them time to mentor. Now for circular economy, I think the opportunity is here, and if you want to talk, go be partners.
Okay, Go Be Partners is there, and you can reach out to them. Okay, looking ahead to wrap up our conversation, what are your goals and also vision for Go Be Partners ESG and also circular economy initiative over maybe the next 5 years?
So now we're getting to this point of really understanding the journey. I think ESG has some, depending on which part of the world you are, can be heavily completely on the opposite spectrum. So what we want to do is say ESG is really just part of doing good business. How do you build good businesses over time? You need to understand that whatever creation we do, and every single day we build our products and services, there's actually an impact to that, right? So whether that's the environment, the social, and governance. So we need to lead the charge. We need to see business as a social tool for good. And in order to do this, we need to find innovative ways to do it. We've done it before. We've created innovation that's basically changed the whole spectrum of the world, and we can do it again. It is what it is, but I think it's going to be really exciting now that that's going to be the next step and stage for investing in this space.
Amazing. Carlo, thank you so much for your time. And actually, that's our wrap up here on the final day of World Economic Forum in Italian, China, Summer Davos. And also, of course, we look ahead and also please welcome to Malaysia. Come to Malaysia and maybe we can discuss more, maybe in our studio in Kuala Lumpur. Thank you so much. That's all from now. Haris Ashraf Hasnan signing off from Dalian, China, WEF 2024 Summer Davos.
Batteries are one of the key technologies that we use when it comes to getting to net zero, so to solving climate change. Batteries allow us to store energy in times when we don't need as much and shift it to times when we need a lot. It also allows us to move energy around, for example, in our cars. Each one of these different components, each one of these materials are mined in different parts of the world. And then when we do that, we see impacts on our water, on our land, and on local communities. When we talk about the path to net zero, we often talked about how the path goes through indigenous lands. That's because so many of the materials we want to build the technologies that we need moving forward are located on indigenous people's lands. So when we look at history and we learn from all the mistakes of the past, we can do things better as we move forward, including bringing indigenous people into the conversation. When we look in Canada, they're engaging in some more informed consent-based processes where communities not only have a voice in the process and a voice at the table, but also have an equity stake in the project as it goes forward. That means that they engage not just in the beginning and development of the project, but throughout its lifetime. So when we look at getting these new materials into the system, geopolitics can shift. Who has power at a table can shift. And it's not just about mining, it's about the entire supply chain, from mining to processing to turning each one of those raw components into the thing we want to use at the end of the day. This means shifting power. This means a lot of bumps in the near-term road. As we think about solving climate change and moving to net zero, it's not just about cleaning up supplies. It's about making sure that we're as efficient as possible as we make sure that everyone in this world has access to the energy they need to thrive, to have the opportunities in life that they want to have. If we don't include developing emerging economies in the conversation, we won't get to net zero on the timeframes that we're talking about if we want to protect human health and the environment. And so it's really imperative that we bring them into conversations, that they have equal footing at the tables, and that they are part of designing the future.
We're seeing it already, for example, for voice technology for people who are locked in or people who have ALS, real ways to suddenly communicate with the world, which is, of course, just completely transformational and breathtaking when you think about the power of that technology. I've been very involved since I was a child in the kind of latest medical research to help people living with not only with spinal cord injury but all types of physical disabilities. And when you look at the potential of AI, I mean, there's real opportunity there. I remember when I was on a school trip when I was probably 11 years old, getting a fax, so this is going to date it, from my dad, and it was the first time that he had dictated a letter himself through technology. So he'd used Dragon Dictate software, some of you may remember it from the 90s, to write his own letter, and it was very sweetly, it was full of typos and all of these things. But the simple act of feeling like he had agency and could send something directly without having to have another person help him was transformational, and that was for the most rudimentary version of this technology. In the space of spinal cord injury, there are increasing medical breakthroughs around what stimulating the spinal cord can do to actually trigger movement that a person can control, again, all through highly sophisticated assistive technology. So that type of potential really is remarkable, and we need to harness that innovation. How do we make sure that your definition of responsible AI isn't just something that escapes human control many years down the line, but actually is respecting people's rights and freedoms and economic opportunity now? And that's the real discussion, is how do we get concrete in those commitments? If you worry about long-term risks of AI either escaping human control or being used for bionuclear terrorism, some of the same mechanisms, which are transparency, accountability mechanisms, who is designing those products and who are they consulting with as they do it, are actually the same types of interventions that those of us who think about near-term human rights harms are focused on as well. And so I hope we're seeing a little bit more of a convergence and less of a dichotomy in the field. Seeing medical breakthroughs. The Reeve Foundation continues to this day funding that work and seeing transformational changes every day.